Hey, welcome back to another episode 2023 of the Xplor podcast with Scott and Ryan. Scott, good to see you in the new year.
Yeah, Ryan, you as well. You have a good holiday.
Great holiday. We celebrated with family and stuff like that. And then shortly after, we drove out here to California, where we'll be here until late spring. And then we'll be coming back to Kansas City. So, trip went smooth. Can't complain. And yeah,
Nice.
what about you?
Yeah, no, it was good. Stayed here locally and just hung out. Well, I went to Wichita for a day, but overall, great holiday. Had some cold weather, so I'm sure you're happy to be back in some warmer weather right now.
Yeah, it's
But
been raining basically since we got here.
oh wow,
So we're in southern LA, but up north has been getting hit hard. But the yeah, they've been getting a ton of rain out here, which they've been in a drought, so it's good. But like San Francisco, I was getting like dangerous amounts of storms.
hmm, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't seen that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but let's get into it. We said on the last podcast we're gonna go a little more niche. I thought it'd be fun to talk about some of the deals you've done, specifically the big property package that you bought. What was that back in 16 or 17?
Big property package. Oh, yeah, it was 2018, I believe.
Was it? What do you think about diving into
Yeah.
that deal and kind of going from the beginning, how you came up, how you found it, how you financed it, all that? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, no, it was 2018. Thinking back to that's right about the time that we brought Nick on. Was this we closed on it about a month after Nick was on board, which was thank goodness Nick was on board then. Yeah, we can go into that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Fire away, shoot questions, whatever you want to know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I knew about the deal, but we never sat down and talked kind of in detail. So let's start with were you looking for it? How'd you find it? Let's go with that kind of deal.
Yeah, so again back to 2018. So 2015, 16, got licensed at what 15. Didn't really start selling until 2016. But the entire goal when I got licensed was really not to sell real estate. Actually, it was more so focused around investing, flipping. That was really what I wanted to do. I just wanted to flip houses and own a bunch of rentals. I saw bunch of guys that did that. And this is way before it became cool to do. Now it's just like the thing. Everybody wants to do it, which is awesome. But this is kind of still in a time where it wasn't that cool of a thing. But I knew quite a few guys that were into the business through some friendships that I've got and just kind of seeing what they were able to build and what they had in life, what kind of wealth they had built from it. And so yeah, I decided, you know what, I'm tired of this corporate stuff. I really never wanted to work corporate world, and got licensed in 15, thinking I was gonna just go start flipping houses and having no idea how I was gonna do it.
So was your plan like many people that get their license, you just want to get your license so you could sell your own properties and save the commission and all that? Was that kind of the idea?
it wasn't even. I wasn't even thinking that far. To be honest, what I did is I got it because I wanted to be able to look at stuff. I didn't even care about. I actually bought my first place in 2015. I bought a townhome that I was able to rent to my father, and he needed a place, and I was like, you know what, I had just started working full time about a year earlier or so at a big contractor, and I was ready to buy something, so I bought it, and he lived there and rented it from me, and that was my first rental. And then through that process, I realized, man, a lot of these people aren't calling me back. It's everybody that I would get a hold of was just older, and I felt like I was inconveniencing them. Sorry, and it just wasn't the easiest, smoothest process. So instead of bugging people, naturally, I'm like, well, heck, how do I do this and just not bug them? Not feel like I'm getting in their way. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to get my license because I want to just go look at houses. Like, to me, I enjoyed it, and I also wanted to find deals. And I felt like since I was younger as well, a couple actually, my broker now for our franchise there, he was one of the guys that showed me a foreclosure at the time, and he was one of the top agents back then. And funny enough, he never called me back to actually put the deal together. So I always give him a hard time for that. But yeah, so I got my license just to show, and then speed up to 2016 when I actually got into real estate sales full time. So I started to. I didn't really have money in 16 either, but I put a goal together to, hey, I want to be able to pay off all my debt so I can quit corporate world, start just flipping houses. But I learned pretty quickly I was pretty good at selling real estate as well. I just understood it. That's what I did for a living, was construction stuff. And a few friends just contacted me to sell a house. Actually, no, the first house I sold, I door knocked, and the people answered, and I didn't end up selling the house that I door knocked on, but the people had moved in with their parents to take care of them, and they had a house that they had just moved in a week earlier. They had just moved out of, and they had a house on Lee Summit. And they're like, "Well, actually, we're getting ready to list our house. You want to list it?" The very first door I ever knocked on. Crazy luck, right? But so that went well. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track here, but no. So that piece went well, and I realized pretty quickly, hey, I'm actually decent at this. It's kind of fun. So I started selling real estate so I could build money to flip. Well, I started finding a lot of flip deals because I was just constantly looking at houses. And I went to a couple of guys in our office. I knew they had money. They had told me, hey, if you ever find a deal, bring it, we'll fund it, we'll partner up on it. So that's how I really got started in the investing piece of it all. Is we partnered up. There were three of us, and just I really was finding a lot of the deals, and then they would fund them, and I would kind of run them. It was, yeah, it worked at the time, right? And then I was able to save up enough. A year and a half later, we had flipped several, probably half a dozen to a dozen together. And then it came to the point where, hey, I have plenty of money myself now. Like, I'm ready to really get into this. At the same time we were flipping, I was starting to acquire a few. I think I had acquired about 4 or 5 by the time 2017. I was putting every penny I was making from real
Single
estate
family homes.
sales, from selling real estate to flipping it, everything into single family rentals. And I started out by buying them for like friends and family that needed places to live. Not necessarily the smartest thing for everybody, but if you're pretty, I mean, the reality is anybody can be hard to work with. It's all about how you react and go back at them, right? So for me, it's pretty easy. I'm pretty easy going for the most part, I would say. There are some things I get a little bit uptight about, but overall, I mean, I work with people. I understand things happen. But by 2017, I had about 5 or so rentals, all single family, and I was really wanting to do more. I was real estate sales. I was crushing it, doubling my business year over year. I was doubling my portfolio year over year. Still small, 5 properties, right? Five, six. Can't remember exactly, but so 2018, I started searching tax rolls because like, how do I find investors that own properties? And so I was just trying to find anything, and I really wasn't that educated on it. There wasn't all this. It wasn't that long ago, but there really wasn't all of the same education that there is today with all these influencers and people that tell you on YouTube. And maybe there was. It just wasn't as easy to find, or I wasn't really aware of it. I didn't really start using social media until a couple, maybe 2 or 3 years ago for a little bit of stuff to learn about. But I learned most of the investing stuff through reading books, if I'm going to be honest. Kick it back to 2015 when I read my first real estate investing book. It was Robert Kiyosaki. Go figure, right? And I thought, man, that is crazy how he's doing this. But anyway, 2018 started really focusing on like, I want to buy a package of homes. That's the only way I'm going to be able to get to scale that where I want to go. And the only way I knew how to do it, searching tax rolls. So I just started scrolling the tax rolls in Cass County here, Belton, where we're
So,
from.
to get a little more specific for people looking for their first package of homes, the tax roll, are you getting online and just
Yeah,
going to the county website and
correct.
you're just seeing who owns what properties?
Yeah, I just got on the county recorder. I think it was the recorder of deeds. Yeah, and it kind of tells you, or no, I didn't get on the recorder of deeds. It was the real estate tax search on the county site. So they have it on here where I'm at least. we have a link to just straight real estate, and it just pops up, who owns what, and it has a few things on there. But I just got on there and started searching, and I went line by line alphabetically. But I realized pretty quickly there were some people that owned quite a few properties. And the county side, as you can imagine, especially back then, was not very user friendly. You really don't have all the filters you have today. Like, you had to really dig through and look at it.
The government's the last one that's going to make this
Yeah,
stuff easy to
always. And
use.
they're still not great. They could be so much more efficient, but they make it difficult, which is fine. I mean, I guess that makes it a little bit harder for people to get into the business as well. So I don't know. But yeah, so I started digging in and I started to realize, man, there's a couple of people that own quite a few properties in Belton, where I was really wanted to be, or Raymore, just that Cass County area. So I came across the name of one guy, last name Jones. Ryan, is we have a friend, Jake Jones. Guy's a dummy. But we love him. But his uncle or cousin, I'm not exactly sure. I just recognize the name and the Jones name. There are a lot of Joneses, obviously, but in Belton there are a shitload of Joneses. And he had about 30 something properties on the tax rolls. And I thought, man, this is interesting. So then what I did is I actually was asking Jake about it. I was like, hey, are you related to this individual? And he actually was. I don't know that he made the introduction or not. I can't remember how I think I just cold called him, to be honest. I think I got his number from Jake and then just cold called him and said, hey, I want to buy your properties. And what I did is I had a bunch of research that I had done on the properties, to where I went back and I just saw, okay, when did he buy them all? I knew probably more about his properties than he did before I called him. But when I called him, he was actually answered and he was immediately interested. Because what I had realized is a lot of the properties had been on and off the MLS, sold within the past couple of years, and then deeded back to him. So in my head, I'm thinking, hang on, why are these properties being sold and then deeded back to him within 3 or so years? It happened two different times, if I remember right, from two different individuals. Told me, hey, there's got to be some kind of owner financing happening, right?
Yeah.
So when I called him, I just said, hey, I'm interested. I'm so and so, and he knew me. My dad and him knew each other growing up. So it ended up actually that helped out quite a bit, just having that connection. But long story short, ended up buying about 30-ish properties in just under 40 units in Belton, Missouri. And there were a lot of unique things. Let's put it that way. It was a nightmare. I'm going to be honest. They are some of the worst properties I've ever been in. It was, it was one of those things where the first week we bought them, there was a shooting at one of them. The city called us in, and I have some things with the city, and it's all due to this package. I used to actually be on the city board and all these different things, planning and zoning commission. And then when I was looking at investing in these, I went to the city and said, hey, here's my idea. Are you guys open to this? Like, if I buy these things, this is what I want to do. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, you're good. Please do. We really want that to happen. Okay, great. Well, immediately, I should have got stuff in writing, obviously, and I learned a lot of lessons from this, but whatever. As soon as we bought them, they acted like they had never had discussions or heard from us at all. Pretty upsetting, to be honest, and some good long-term relationships were broke then. And so, yeah, they called us in the first week we bought them, because or it might have been the second week, whatever, but the city's like, we need to have a meeting with you. We have the police, everybody else, they want to sit down and talk. So we went in there, we're like, hey, yeah, that's fine. Like, we want to work with you guys. Great. We went in there and they ambushed us. Like, you need to do this. You need to do that. You need to fix these properties. And it was like, hang on a second. We just bought these things. We haven't even owned them for 2 weeks. I understand there's something that happened at one of them, but you got to give us time, right? And you guys told us you would help us with all this. Like, yeah, we plan on doing this. Like, we didn't say that. Blah, blah, blah. It was a nightmare. And then one of the cops, this detective, I'll never forget. He started yelling, and business partner at the time started turning bright red, and he stood up and he said, "We didn't come here to get yelled at. We came here to try to work with you guys." And I thought he was going to hit the officer right in the face, so I stood up. But no, we left. We just walked out of there. We said, "You know what? We're not dealing with this. At the end of the day, we understand that something happened. We're going to work to fix it. We're going to work to make these properties better." Um, and we did. Over the next 6 months, it was a nightmare. Um, if Nick wasn't on board, I don't know that we would have made it through that, as well as continued to grow the real estate sales side, build a team, and continue to buy other assets. It was bad. We had, I mean, shootings, we had break-ins, we had to kick so many people out. We had a lot of houses without any kind of utilities on in the middle of winter. We went into one of the houses and the entire living room floor was just completely sunk in. I mean, it wasn't even
Yeah,
there. It was
I
on the
went
crawl
into
space. It
that.
was a hole.
It was like a 5x5
Yeah, it was
crater. And the
it was
guy,
insane. And the guy was
well,
living there like nothing had happened.
he's been living there for like 30 years or something, right?
Oh, and that's the thing. So, step back. Let me tell you something. Kind of find out, obviously, this is one of the biggest slumlords. I've never, like, I still
The
today
previous
laugh about
owner.
it. And his favorite line, he kept telling us, and he would tell Nick, who's on our team, and Nick, it's not about how much you spend, it's about how much you save. And that was what he lived by. He thought that saving money by not fixing things, by not doing things right, Jerry Reagan everything he could, that was the better play. But the reason he wanted to get rid of them is because of all the headaches. And I'm like, hang on a second. If you would have just done these things right, the headaches probably slowly would have gone away. And long story short, that is reality. They actually started going away once we started fixing these properties up. But the way that we bought them was pretty unique. We were actually able to, yeah, we were able to do some pretty strategic financing on them. So we got real creative. We were able to get a partial owner, and I laughed just because the negotiations on them was so funny. And we negotiated a price, and then we sat down to write the contract, and all of a sudden he pulls a house or two out of the deal. This guy he is a shifty man. I love him. He's the most interesting man. He is so shifty, You really got to just have things in writing from the get-go. But I'm not kidding. 2 of the properties, or 3 of them maybe, he ended up thinking he could take out of the deal and give them to one of his nephews, and the price was still just going to stay the same. It was like, oh my God, okay. Well, a big mistake we made here was we never went into any of the properties.
I mean, it's hard. Most of them
Mistake.
had tenants and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, the tenants had. I mean, I'm not kidding. Most of those tenants have been in there multiple years, and some of them are still in there. For 4 or 5 years later now, we've had them, and it's their place. Like, a lot of them aren't that great still. We've redone probably over half of them, but a lot of them are still kind of sketchy. But it's their home. Like, I'm not going to go in and disturb them, man. People get offended when you do that. Like, let them live there. It's not something that I would ever want to live in. But I also am not the person that gets to say what's theirs.
Why judge them if they're happy with their place? And like you said,
Yeah.
they're paying to live there. That's their home while they're paying.
Yep. Exactly. Well, and the numbers work. So as we look back, the numbers still did work. Thank God the market took off as well, though. But the numbers just worked, and we were like, you know what? It's just going to have to work. We don't have time or the ability to go through all this.
To go back, you kind of skipped over it. So for financing, you said you did some creative. You did a little bit.
So we did
a little bit of owner
financing. We were able to get a note on the properties, but we were also able to get a owner financing, kind of a second lien on the properties, I guess, from the owner that we bought them from. Pretty much, he put money up front. We were able to get him to give us cash to pretty much use for getting these properties fixed up. We needed money. We had to have money. We paid $1.5 million for them. He ended up giving us back a couple $100,000, and we took all that money and I mean, it still wasn't enough to fix and do what we needed to do to these properties. So we were able to pay him off. I don't know. I think we paid him back within 2 years. But that's partially because we were able to sell quite a few of the properties as we remodeled them. We sold them off. And he's awesome. Like, I still laugh today. I wish I would have gone through some of them, but at the end of the day, like, it worked, and it's actually been one of the best investments we ever made. We had to bulldoze several properties. They were that bad. They were just no return. We had a hoarder house that had 78,000 pounds of trash in it, just trash, dump loads of trash. It took 5 guys, I don't know how many days. I can't believe the house was standing. That was the same house that was shot up when we first bought it. That same place, it was a
What
lot.
what was the reason it got shot up? Drug
Yeah,
dealing
so I was going
or
to tell you. So it's a lot. This I'll explain this property. So it had a house on the front of it. Um, it had a duplex on the one side of it, and then it had a garage on another side of it. In the garage, this guy had created 3 units, and I'm talking, I don't know how anybody lived in these 3 units in this garage, but he said, "Hey, this property has what, 6 units in it." I was like, interesting. I don't know how there are 6 different units there. I see 3 in a garage. No, the garage has 3 units. I was like, oh,
it
okay.
still had a garage door then?
Oh, no, it had a garage. Yeah, it was built out. It was the most interesting thing. If I could show you a picture, I don't even know that I had them. That garage, though, had three different tenants.
How
He
many
had just pretty much made
bathrooms?
rooms. It had one bathroom.
For oh wow.
Yeah, it was very like a 78-year-old lady and then 2 big crackheads lived in there. And this whole property was pretty bad. So they shot up because the crackheads, I don't remember if it was that they were buying it from there or they thought that that's where they were buying it from. I think it was they thought they were buying it from there because another house down the road, about a block behind, was actually the house that was selling, and it got shot up. It's been shot up 2 or 3 times since.
Not your
But we ended
house
up
though.
bulldozing that one garage as soon as we acquired. We kicked those people out. We got rid of that. We bulldozed it. Sold that house and that duplex for, I don't know, 70 grand. We bought the whole thing for 45 grand, that whole setup. So, at the end of the day, it was a pain in the butt. We had to spend some money, but we probably broke even on it, if I'm going to be honest. We could have done a lot better, but we got into a little bit of a cash crunch in 2019, just because these places were taking so much money to redo. So we had to get rid of one or two just for the cash piece of it. So that was one of them that we sold off. The guy that bought it ended up redoing them, and he's actually cash flowing like crazy right now, which I'm glad. I'm happy for him. He's bought a few of those properties, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to just being crap hole houses. But long story short, still own about 11 of them, and a few lots from houses that we bulldozed, and plan on that. And we kept the lots because they are zoned multifamily. But they cash flow. I mean, we haven't redone. We redid, or I think we just refinanced a note to get better terms a year ago or 2 years ago. We only owe about 300,000 on them now, and they're cash flowing, I think, $5,000 a month or so, which isn't great, but you got to understand, like, these properties aren't great either. We've done a lot, but we've sold off a lot of them that we've redone. So, like, we were able to take the cash and go buy different properties with them. So the ones that we've kept are all ones that the tenants have really stayed in them. We've redone a few of the ones we've kept, but I think the majority, I'd say 8 of the 11, same tenants, and the tenants have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And they cash flow so well. It's like, yeah, they're a little bit more work here and there, but really we've got them down so good now that it doesn't make sense to sell them, and they're probably worth double what I owe on them, more than double what I owe on them. Yeah, more than double, probably
Yeah.
almost 3 times the debt. So I could go pull money out, whatever else, but really that package, it'll cash flow around $9,000 a month once paid off, I think. Is right about what the numbers are. And sorry, I don't have it all in front of me. He brought this up on me out of nowhere, which is good. But we'll cash flow around 9 grand, and I can have it paid off anytime. I mean, so just have such good financing, it doesn't make sense to pay it off at the moment.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of headaches. We learned a lot. Nick's crushed it through it. But the reality is, at the end of the day, they have been very profitable. But man, was it a nightmare. I do not recommend buying a package that you have never looked at unless you just have a ton of cash sitting around that you have the ability to fix things and just roll with the blows as they come in. I mean, we bought, I'd say over half of them were crack houses, which is kind of crazy. Like in Belton, I mean, I guess it's a little bit prevalent, but like back then, like, yeah, there was some stuff. It's way more popular today, but it was not known that it was that bad. And we literally bought every single one of them.
Well, and just a couple things there. Belton is a good town. Every town has their bad
Yeah.
places and stuff like that. The houses you bought were old Belton, so they're old homes, old area.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
spread out, but most of them were down like Old Town Belton.
and really, you can't blame yourself for it. That the previous owner put those tenants in. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he didn't vet the tenants or anything. He's like you said, he's like, it's about saving money. And he's
Yeah,
like,
he
if those
thought.
guys have money to pay, you're in, is what it sounds
Yeah, he
like.
would literally put him in a closet to make money off of them. That's how slummy he was.
Right.
Oh, it was so bad.
But these are the stories that I like to hear. A lot of podcasts I listen to, it's, oh, I bought 30 units. 2 years later,
Oh, it
I'm a
was a nightmare.
millionaire.
Let me tell you one story. Like the one guy that was his quote unquote maintenance man that he had used, he told us how great this maintenance guy was. And it's like, well, the first house we go into, whoever your maintenance man is, he should have been fired fucking day one. Oh, part of my language. But it was so bad. This guy stopped paying us about 3 months in, middle of winter. We bought him in June. So yeah, it would have been like, it was a few months in. It was about November. Um, and we got a notice or something from he wasn't paying. He never paid us once. It was a nightmare. He had a ton of kids. We felt bad. But we went and we had to kick him out. I mean, he had no power on, and it was freezing cold outside. And thank God it was freezing cold outside, because what we come to find, so bad. What he actually did is, there was a shed behind his house. He had a fireplace in the shed, so they would actually sleep and hang out in the shed and just burn fire. He would just go around to all the neighbors and take firewood and burn it. Crazy.
And that's
But
where
well,
they
let's
slept and stuff, in the shed.
yeah, yeah. It was the only place that had heat. It was bad, and we didn't know that. Obviously, the power company said something, or somebody brought it to our attention, and we're like, oh wow, that is terrible. We'll get it taken care of. And maybe it was a city, I don't know. The city we have got so many violations. We found all the old violations. Nick's kept them all. I'm going to start sharing some of those. Some of them are ridiculous. The city literally put a target on our back and everything they tried to send us something for. It was crazy. But anyway, when we went into the house, that he didn't have plumbing either, come to find out. And again, we didn't walk through these properties when we bought them. We just bought them because the numbers worked, right? Well, the sewer was also backed up. So they go in. I didn't actually, I personally didn't go in, thank God. It was freezing cold the day that they went in to kind of secure the house and whatever else. The entire tub was full of feces. The
Oh,
entire tub. Instead of,
oh,
yeah, they had filled up the toilet, so they started to poop in the tub.
that is disgusting. In there, so they're sleeping in the shed,
Yep.
pooping in the bathtub, and
No
no
heat, no
plumbing.
power, nothing. And I mean, it was cold. Thank goodness, though, because the smell, I couldn't imagine.
Who cleaned that out?
Our demo guys,
God
they had
dang.
a good time. And again, thank God it was cold, so it wasn't as bad. But yeah, he,
Did you ever? Did you bring this up to the previous owner next time you saw him?
no, I did not.
I guess it doesn't matter. He's
I've
gonna
only talked
put.
to him a few times. We we paid him monthly or quarterly for the money that we were borrowing, and then once we paid him off, I've talked to him several times, and again, I love him. He's hilarious. I just would never probably buy another house from him again. I mean, I would, but it's going to be a damn good deal if I do it. But yeah, no, the demo guys did it. We ended up actually having to sell that one too. Not having. We ended up selling that one, and somebody flipped it though and made a fortune. And some people have vision, some don't. That's what I tell Nick all the time. Nick always says, "Oh, we're gonna have to bulldoze this one. We're gonna have to bulldoze that one. Oh, that thing, no way." I tell him, man, this is gold to somebody.
Was
The
that
reality is this will work. And what do we know? Everyone that him and my old business partner would just completely trash on, somebody has come in and flipped it and made a buttload of money on. And we bought these things for, I mean, like I said, like 45,000 a piece is what they all broke down to be. If you just cut it across the board, it was 45,000 bucks a piece. I mean, we've sold some of them for over 200. Now we've put money into those, whatever else. But I mean, even today, some of them that I haven't touched are probably worth 140. A couple of the those play over on the base, those duplexes or whatever they're considered, townhomes, I guess. Haven't touched them, but I could probably sell them today for 140, and they've just been bankrolling. I mean, the rents are low. We could get rents higher, but I'm not about kicking people out and spending 50 grand to remodel the place. So I'll just let it keep going until they don't want to be there anymore. So yeah, it's been a journey, but it has probably been one of the best journeys for learning, for cash flow, for everything else. Like, it's really let us learn a lot, understand some things, and overall, I'd say it's been a good experience.
You know what though? If you would have walked them, would you have bought them?
No.
So kind of going in blind,
No.
it's taught you so much.
Well, I mean, for the right price, probably. I could say that my past partner, there's no way he would have wanted to buy it. He was already scared just driving around and looking at a few of them. To me, it's all math. The path is in the math, right? Like,
Yeah.
the numbers work if the numbers work. So they worked. I mean, and yeah, it was a struggle there for a little bit. I mean, we were deploying every penny we had to keep these things going there in 2019. So I got a little bit tight, but guess what? Now it's been extremely good. And the real estate sales picked up. Like, we were able to really excel in many other ways to help us stay afloat, which was good. Now that I've learned it, I don't know that I would go back and do another. Now, let me take it back. I would, because I would have the right team in place. And that was the biggest thing, is like, we didn't have all this stuff that we needed. We didn't have the contractors that had the ability to take on the stuff. We didn't have the management in place. We did it all from scratch as we went through the process, and it was a hell of a learning experience. But Nick got to learn a lot too, and now he's got it down. He still has no vision, but he's a black and white type of guy, so that's all right. He's great at what he does.
Yeah. Shout out Nick.
Yeah, shout out Nick. But yeah, bulldozing houses is not what I like to do. I think every turd can look good. You just got to do it right. Now there are some things where, like, the foundations were just so bad. It was like, yeah, to fix the foundations more than what it's going to cost us to bulldoze it and rebuild this on this lot. So let's just bulldoze it.
Was the one where they're sleeping in the shed? Is that the one the flipper came in and kind of added that second unit or the top unit? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was a different one. That's the one that had a huge hole in the middle
That
of
was
the
the
floor
whole
too.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one turned out really cute.
Yeah, you put a whole second level on it, so that they could. Well, it kind of had one, but it was not. It was jankety, so he
Well, it
put a
was,
whole dormer and everything on it to where it
yeah,
was able to actually be a bedroom up there. He did a good job. This one is a whole different one, and they went in and redid it, and then they added a huge garage onto it, so it's nice.
which everybody loves, big old garage. So
Yeah,
especially down there in that area, well, the house I have over there is just that one small car garage. And a lot of those down there don't even have garages, or they're detached and they're
yeah.
falling over.
Yeah, no. So it's good. Again, I don't know that I'd go back, and I'm glad we didn't look at him at the end of the day because we probably wouldn't have bought him. And maybe we would have got a better deal. I don't think so. He was pretty stuck on his numbers. But and back to the original part of this story, like when I was looking at the tax records and then realized he had um recaptured them multiple times. So yeah, what he was doing is he was owner financing for multiple people. And these people would buy them and they were so bad that the people gave the properties back after 2 or 3 years.
Oh, she, I was,
So that tells you how bad these things were.
I
It
was
was so
thinking,
much work and so much headache that they literally just gave him. They did all this work. I mean, everything, and they just gave him the property back because it was such a strain on them and financially and headaches. And I mean, I have voicemails from people calling us these crackheads next door, blah, 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 like neighbors of some of these properties. Like I have some of the funniest stuff that I will keep forever. From when we first bought this package of homes, the craziest things you could ever think of. I'm not kidding. I mean, it was interesting. We've had people dead in properties. I mean, everything.
I honestly thought when you shared that earlier that he was owner financing to people that he didn't qualify properly or something like that, and he got them back because they weren't paying.
No,
That's
no, no, no.
hilarious
They
that they're
gave them
like,
back.
this is, I don't want this. This is a mistake.
Yeah, no, that is funny. And I don't know that many people I've ever told that part to, but yeah, they literally gave him the properties back. Like this was a mistake. We cannot handle this. I mean, one of the guys is a very used to be, I don't want to say he is now, but he used to be like one of the top realtor guys in the city. On
Wow.
top of his wife was some big executive at a big company. I mean, one of the biggest companies in the country. And they had a lot of money. And
They just didn't want to piss it away.
man, people, I cannot stress enough how much headache this these people in these units were. That's all I can say. I mean, you're talking top-notch tenants. One of them, one of the buildings, I think it was originally a house. He had built onto it so many times to put more units. It ended up being like 7 units. It was insane. This thing was falling over. I mean, he was using 4x4 posts to extend it and putting entire like houses on top of these 4x4 posts. I mean, they were bent so bad, bowing. But one day, well, on that same property, the plumbing wasn't even attached. We didn't know it for almost a year. Um, but in the crawl space, when they would flush the toilet or drain the bathtub, it just flooded down in the crawl space.
Because the
So the
sewer was
place
busted.
always smelled so bad. I mean, so bad. And it was like, man, these people are just gross. And they were pretty gross. But it doesn't help uh, that they were just dumping their feces and everything else under in the crawl space. I guess the soil over there is probably pretty damn good. But we ended up, those are ones that we had to bulldoze over time. But the story I was going to tell is one time Nick went over to collect rent and we had already kicked out several people. We had to kick one lady out on Christmas Eve, and she was one of the worst. She knew the laws left and right, so you have to be real careful with a lot of these people. And it's not like we're trying to do anything bad. We're just literally just trying to run a property, like pay us our rent, and we are easy. Like, and if you can't pay, just work with us. Like, we will work with you, right? No, we're not going to do that either. We're just going to be the biggest pain. We're not going to pay. We're going to use all these things against you. So if you make one mistake, you're in trouble. So this lady, she knew everything. So everything had to be by the book. And it just so happened somehow on Christmas Eve, the sheriff was able to get her out. Like it was a nightmare. But Nick went over there one time after that. And that same lady actually slapped our demo guy. And our demo guy's huge, 300 and I'd say 350 plus. He's 6'5", probably massive dude. And he was in there starting to take stuff out of her house as soon as Chef got there, and she started smacking him. It was the funniest thing in the world. He just looked at her like he was gonna beat the living poop out of her. She was a big crackhead, but back, golly, I keep you off track. But Nick went over there, was going to collect rent, knocks on the door. A guy answers. It's a guy and his son. He's a probably 18-year-old son, but guy answers the door in a lab coat and goggles.
Oh, come on.
I'm
They're
not. That
they're
is not
cooking.
a joke.
They're cooking drugs, dude. Why would you
No
answer the door
joke.
like that?
No joke. He
Oh my
opens the
god.
door
He
in
said, he
goggles
said,
and a
"Hey,
lab
can I
coat.
help you?" He's just
Oh, and Nick's like, "Well, I'm collecting rent. All right, I'll get that for you." He paid.
and
That's not a joke.
Nick is a very by the book guy.
Oh,
He's
like I said, he's black and white.
professional, a professional accountant. He does it like I recently got my
I mean, he was at a
broker.
top 5 auditing firm. Like he's
Yeah.
sharp and
Yeah.
very intelligent. Sometimes thinks he's so intelligent that he's smarter than everybody else. But hey, that's all right. That's why we
Yeah.
like him.
Yeah.
He
But
hates
yeah.
dumb people. Let's put it that way.
So
So
yeah.
it really tests his buttons to deal with some of the tenants we've had in the past.
Yeah, but you
The
guys aren't
stupidity.
you're not trying to cheat anybody or get them
Absolutely
out for
not.
whatever. If
I'm
they're
probably honestly, I would say I'm on the spectrum of a pushover when it comes to like people not paying and we try so hard to work with everybody. Just communication is the biggest thing.
well, and
Like
you'd let people pay weekly if that was better for them. And
I'll give them work. I'll do whatever. Like just be upfront with me and we'll figure it out. Like I've had people get months and months and months behind and get caught up. Like I will do what it takes to help you get there if you're willing to do it.
and you're civil.
But I've learned to read through the bull crap as well, and
Right.
I'm really good at that now. We don't have those issues now. It's like we're so good at qualifying. Knock on wood. I mean, qualifying, making sure that we're putting good people in. Like every now and again, out of 60 plus units, we might get something, but for the most part, it's hey, I just this month we're gonna be late, or this month we can't pay. We'll get caught up in the next 2 months. Okay, but I don't know the last person that we've really had to have is had to put on a plan or anything else in 2 years probably
That's awesome. Yeah,
out of
that's
60 plus tenants. Like that's pretty good.
yeah. No, and that's quite the story. I mean, I'm sure you could go on for hours about the different
Oh,
stuff.
there's a lot more.
I mean, you said you wanted to go in. We'll have to save it for another time. All the zoning stuff that the city was trying to hit you with, or would you say the
Oh yeah, all the violations, literally everything. And they've got up on their high horse the last couple of years. Like, even your dad, the time that they called him about his trailer, he has had that trailer parked on the side of his house, his old house. I mean, ever since I think I've known you, he's
yeah?
had something over there. Maybe not that specific trailer, but there's always been something. And all of a sudden, he's getting letters saying, "Hey, you need to move this." He's like, "Hang on, what?" Um, they've just got on their high horse, and a lot of cities have. And it's for the better for sure. It cleans them up.
Mhm.
But you can't go and try and do this stuff overnight and then become excessively rude about it.
Right.
And that's how they were. It's like, the plan is to do these things. And it was well before any of this stuff was ever even passed. Okay. But you can't expect me when you've allowed a guy to own stuff for 10, 15 plus years and they've got to where they're beyond recoverable for most people. Obviously, people are giving these things back to him, right? You got to give us time. Nope, we want it now. Well, we want this. We want that. It's like, okay, you guys want to play hardball? Like, tried to be patient with them, tried, and man, then they try to put this rental. All these cities are putting these rental programs through. We get to do like inspections, and they want to pass these things, and they want to go into your property so that they can be nosy and see what it's all about. I'm like, we're not retroactively going into any of my properties. First of all, my tenants, I don't even go into their houses because that's their place. Like we said to start this whole thing, like that is their place. I don't care how nasty, whatever else it is. It's not my place, nor is it your place to say what it needs to be like. Like, sorry, you're not going on my property. I think it's crazy the way that some policy has been pushed the last couple of years, where they are allowed to determine what can and can't be done on private property. that is going to be something interesting to keep kind of an eye on and really pay attention to in the future. Um,
Yeah, well, so when they were trying to pass that, we went to that meeting
oh,
and
I blasted them, and man,
there are tenants there that showed up and they're like,
yeah,
you have no business coming to
yeah,
my
we asked them.
property.
We
Like,
told our tenants, we sent out a whole thing like, and look, everybody comes from different backgrounds. Again, I don't judge anybody. I love a lot of our tenants, and they're some of the greatest people, and they're happy, whatever else. And the thing is like, I don't want people coming to my house, especially the city, like whatever. But the city was so rude and so nasty toward a lot of the stuff that we were doing that I said, you know what? I'm actually going to fight this a little bit. And I'd fought it a lot actually, but we sent notice out to our tenants, everybody. We made sure people showed up. I made sure that I told them, hey, here's what they're trying to do. They're going to come into your place and they're going to make us do stuff. And at that point, you're going to get kicked out because guess what? Once I have to do those things, I have to update the whole thing. Then I'm going to have to raise your rent. And then where are you going to live? And that's the
yep,
reality, though. Like, that's what I have to do. If that's what they're going to go on there and inspect these things and make us update them to today's standards, like that is absurd. If you want to do that going forward, I buy a property and I know that when I buy the property that I'm going to have to do these things, great. Not great, but I can deal with that. But when you're
yeah,
trying to retroactively pass legislation and ordinances, whatever else, to where you're going to go into all of the properties that were ever acquired and that you have, and you get to bring them up to today's code, you're out of your mind.
yeah. And I think governments are starting to
Overstep.
overstep. Last I checked, this is still America. They don't own
We don't
that
get
land.
political though. I don't want to get political there. Like,
You're
yeah,
right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like, man, come on, guys. I get what some of this stuff is doing, but a lot of it is just so
Well,
ridiculous.
there's a difference between tenant trying to protect the tenants and stuff like that, and
Invading their privacy.
yes,
And
yes,
that's exactly what the I mean, when I went in there, that's exactly what pretty much what I said. But I put together a speech. I mean, we had our attorney show up, we had everything. And let's put it this way, it was gonna get passed. By the time we were done, we swayed 2 votes and it did not get passed. And that was what we needed to do. So yeah, I'm sure it's coming. It's coming in all the other cities. And again, I'm okay with it. Heck, you should see a lot of our properties. Like they are very nice. Once we have the ability to go in and do them, but I'm not going to do it when people are already there. And all that does is force them out into wherever else, which there aren't any cheap places. So if they're already living in a cheap place, why are you going to force me to update it? That then kicks them out. It doesn't make any sense.
we have an affordability housing issue already in cities. I get you want to make your city nice, but if you update everything, it's like you want affordable housing, but you want super nice places.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
you,
whole nother topic for another podcast, to be honest. But on that topic, I just sat down for the last 2 hours right before this. I was with the gentleman that's working on some stuff, and I'm going to be working with him. Pretty neat stuff. But we are trying to put together all the different, I guess, entities, government wise, city at the city level, at the state level, at the county level, and pull together all the different people that it's going to take to really try and do something about affordable housing, and but really focusing on the handicap and disabled piece to start, because you got to start somewhere. You can't just fix it all, right?
right.
So that's kind of the area that we have a little bit of a niche in, and they're in that area doing a lot of home modifications for people with special needs or disabilities. So we're really focusing on that at the moment, and we've got some traction, and I'm really hoping we can pull something off. Who knows? But we've got some lobbyists, we've got everybody kind of starting to push some things through that hopefully we can get this in the next, I would say, 6 to 9 months, something at least on the docket so that they're reading it and it's in front of them. But come February, they will at least have something in front of them at the state level. So a lot of work. Really, the other gentleman's done all the work up to now. We sat down for the last 2 hours before this. I really brought it up to speed on what the actual investor side and the rental piece of it looks like. He knows more of like the modification side and the remodels and like what that stuff is. So we're trying to bring people that are intelligent in their perspective field together to actually get this thing done. Versus back in 2019, we tried to do several things around this and it was just overwhelming. It, couldn't get traction because we tried to do it all ourselves and it just doesn't work. So it'll be interesting. The affordable housing is an issue. I think that's a buzzword that everybody likes and it's cool, but affordable. What is affordable, right? It's
Right.
kind of
Depends on
just a
who you
buzzword in
ask.
my opinion. And the reality is like there is a problem out there. There are way too many people that really can't afford to live in a lot of places. But part of the issue is the only we aren't going to get political. It doesn't help local investors. The only ones that can really benefit from a lot of the programs that everybody wants to talk about are big institutions and money, big multifamily development type stuff. There's nothing on the small business side that really can work. And that's who's really going to be able to push something like that forward in a local area. So to do that at scale is very difficult because you've got to get buy-in. And the only way to get buy-in is to get big money behind it and get scale. But big money and scale can't happen because it doesn't make sense. So there's a lot of problems and whatever else, but we're going to see if we can't figure something out. So
Cool. Yeah, let's definitely save that. And then whenever you guys are ready, I think that bringing some people on for that, there's obviously that's a big topic that people like to talk about. And with you guys making the
yeah.
progress, it'd be good to share that story so other people can see how you're doing it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great topic for one of these podcasts actually. So we can get on there and probably bring him in as well and really chat about it. So
Cool. Awesome. Well, you got anything else?
no, man, let's go ahead and wrap this one up and we will see you guys. Thank you very much for coming in and listening in. If you have any questions, if you have any requests, please send them our way. We would love to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, to be honest. Anything specific or just generally, send it our way. So,
Yeah, if you're an investor or entrepreneur or own a business or really in any industry and anything, just reach out if you'd like to be a guest on here. We'd love to learn about you and what you do. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and yeah, we're on every platform where you can listen to podcasts. So,
yep.
Scott, great talking to you. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Yeah.